Hi everyone, it's Refresh, and I'm here to take a look at the Vraska Scheming Gorgan Planeswalker deck from Rivals of Ixalan. According to the back here, it says, lead the vampires of Ixalan to victory as you drain the life from your opponent. It's interesting because Vraska was a pirate in the story, and so somehow she's leading vampires to victory? I'm not sure I like this. It includes ready-to-play 60-card deck, 2 Rivals of Ixalan 15-card booster packs, a deck box, a strategy insert, and a magic quick reference card. Let's go ahead and confirm that. Here is our Vraska Scheming Gorgan Planeswalker card. Got a little bit of shiny to it. Just a little bit of bend, as per usual when it comes to these foils. Here's her deck box, which has some pretty cool artwork. Made of cardboard, but it's not bad. It looks like it'll fit sleeved cards, like all the Planeswalker deck boxes. Inside, we have our 2 booster packs of Ixalan, just a little bit squished, as per all of these packs in these Planeswalker decks as well. This is our quick reference card. Again, it seems like they're using the same thing that's been in these Planeswalker decks since the very beginning. There's a bit of information on how to cast spells, what the different land cards and mana symbols are, and what the different card types are, and then a reminder of how to set up the game, how to win, and the different parts of the turn. Again, this is not going to be able to help you to learn how to play the game, but it will be an okay reminder if you are playing the game and you don't have somebody that knows how to play the game walking you through all the steps. So, here is our strategy insert. It says, hey, before you play. It says to learn how to play the deck before you start adding cards to it. It says, playing the deck, Vraska leads an armada of powerful vampires, a legion of fierce allies who can draw upon the very life force of your enemies. Use Vraska to assassinate key creatures while you build up your army, and then launch a flying attack to evade your opponent's defenses and deliver a final deadly blow. It gives you a little bit of information on how to go to a website to find out how to use Planeswalker cards, which is kind of silly. They have so much space on the back, which is just an ad that they could use to explain all this stuff. And then it gives you a little bit of information about a couple card mechanics. And then just a tiny bit of description on who Vraska is. It's honestly not that great when you consider that the old strategy inserts used to have a bit more information and a bit more specific information on how to play the deck, a bit more information on how to improve the deck, a full deck list, and more information on the character. This is really disappointing compared to what used to go in these Planeswalker decks. Alright, let's take a look at the actual cards in the deck itself. One of the main rares of the deck is Champion of Dusk, which is a pretty good vampire payoff. Vraska Scorn is her main card, which is a 4 life loss card. This isn't that great, all things considered, for the rate, but it's something, I guess. You have the Paladin Atonement, which I guess plays with the life loss and counter themes that might be here. There's something going on with the collation here that has put these things in a rather weird order. This appears to be Vraska's common card, which I guess is alright. It's a 3/3 for 4 that gives you Death Touch. It's something. Vraska's Conquistador is her uncommon card, and it says whenever Vraska's Conquistador attacks or blocks, if you control the Vraska Planeswalker, target opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. So this plays into the life drain theme. I think that this deck is supposed to embody. And that's it. It is really weird seeing Vraska lead up a bunch of vampires when in the actual story she was a pirate, and in her actual main card she was a pirate. But I guess this is a vampire deck, so let's see how it plays. So I played some games with this deck, and I have some thoughts. The first observation that's really obvious is that this is a vampires deck. Now, what that has to do with Vraska is a little hard to fathom. This must be some sort of alternate universe Vraska, because Vraska was a pirate on Ixalan, and to have her be leading the vampires doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and so I find that rather confusing, and in terms of lore, it doesn't really fit. I understand that they might have wanted to have one representative of every of Ixalan's tribes in the Planeswalker decks, but I almost kind of wish that we just went 3 different types of pirate decks and then the dinosaurs deck with the Planeswalkers, because it just feels off. Like, it feels like it's misleading who Vraska is if you have her be leading vampires, which she didn't do in the story. But outside of forcing Vraska to be leading the vampires, I felt like this deck was a little half and half on what it was actually trying to do. Now, the first thing to notice is that this deck is a vampires deck that only has a couple payoffs for vampires. The Legion Lieutenant is one of the big payoffs, and it definitely is a solid vampire. I kind of wish that the deck had two of them in there just to really hammer the point home that this is something that you want in the deck. And then you have the Champion of Dusk, which draws you cards based on the number of vampires you control. The Bishop of the Bloodstained, which causes your opponent to lose life based on the number of vampires you control. The Deathless Ancient, which you can use your vampires to return it from the graveyard to your hand. And that's it. So that's what the vampire synergy is. There's also a very tiny amount of life gain synergy with the Famished Paladins, the life gains from the Moments of Triumph and Craving, as well as the tiny bits of life gain you can get from the Skymarsh Bloodletters, and cards like the Champion of Dusk, which causes you to lose life, the Dusk Legion Zealot, which causes you to lose life. And those work together just a little, not a lot, and it's kind of weird to have Famished Paladins in a deck that you don't have any sort of repeatable life gain in, and so I don't love the fact that they're in there. I would have preferred that they used the uncommon 2-drop that you can spend 4 life to make it indestructible, and that sort of better fits what this deck is trying to do in terms of being a relatively aggressive deck. As you can see, most of the cards cost 2 mana, and there's not a lot up here in the more expensive area. Now, the life gain does mean that it is slightly less of aggressive than, say, Ingrath's Pirates deck. But because of the curve here, I think the deck should have went a little bit more all in on the aggression. And some of the deck construction offenders here include the Vicious Conquistador. Now, there's only one of them, and again, in order for a deck to really show the value of a 1 mana cost creature, it should have a lot of them so that you can see that this is the card that you want to have out early. But if you only have one of them, when you're playing the deck, you're going to find that every time you draw it, unless it's in your very opening hand, you're just going to be like, why is this even in the deck? It does nothing. It really accomplishes nothing. And that makes it really hard for you to want to use the Vicious Conquistador. So there should be a lot more 1-drops in this deck, or there should be no 1-drops in this deck. The other creatures here that are a little less than inspiring are the Gilded Sentinels, which aren't vampires, and I would have much rather preferred replacing them with, actual vampires. And the Skyblades of the Legion as 1/3s are kind of really weird defensive flying vampires that I don't understand what their purpose is in this particular deck. I would have actually preferred to have the 2 mana lifelink 2/2s that exist in Ixalan instead of the Skyblade of the Legion. Now, I understand that maybe it's to show off the cards from Rivals of Ixalan, but I mostly found their presence to be a little odd and not especially pointing towards what this deck should be trying to do. Now, again, I understand that these are Planeswalkers decks. They're not supposed to be fully optimized, but I still think that at least pointing better in that direction would be more helpful. Accordingly, I think that Vampire Champion is a rather weird choice for this deck as well. I would have preferred at the 4-drop slot something a little bit more aggressive, or something that played with the life gain aspect of the deck. Even if you just gave it lifelink and just kept it the same, then it would actually play better with the rest of the deck in terms of being able to untap the Famished Paladins if it blocks or attacks or whatever. And I think that would have been better. I understand that maybe this is Vraska's common and it's supposed to be matching her character, but she doesn't even have Death Touch. It doesn't really play into what she's trying to do anyways as a Planeswalker card. So why have it be Death Touch when it could actually play in with the themes of the deck and give the deck the kind of lifelink boost that it needs? Aside from that, I felt like Vraska's Scorn was a rather unusual inclusion as well. Just causing your opponent to lose 4 life for 4 mana is not especially inspiring. Now, I understand that you can use it to finish off your opponent. It does get Vraska, but I feel like it's fairly underpowered for what you're getting versus what Angrath's cards do, for example, in the same type of tutoring effect. It destroys a creature and then deals 3 damage, which is much better than losing 4 life. As it is, Vraska doesn't connect that well with her deck. She does play well with the aggro because she does give her creatures +1/+0, and the -3 destroy target creature is just a really powerful ability, but there's not a lot of synergy going on with what this deck is trying to do, and consequently, now if this deck had a lot more lifelink and it played a bit better with the lifelink theme, I think Vraska's ability would be a little bit better, but as it is, She is a strong planeswalker, one that I don't mind having in this deck. I just wish that there was a little bit more connection between what she's trying to do and what the rest of the deck is trying to do. The vampires themselves didn't really have a lot of a particular mechanic of their own, but they did play a bit with a life gain theme, and that does appear a little bit in this deck. I wish that it were a little bit better represented in this deck to really show what the vampires are about. As it is, this is kind of a middling, mildly aggressive, slightly tribal deck that I think could have been better representing all of those things, better teaching tool, but it is not the worst Planeswalker deck. It functions mostly fine. Even if it's not inspiring, at least it has a plan of some sort, which is mostly to get aggressive, then start to stall the game and try to hold the game up with its life gain, and then play one of its big vampire payoffs for the win. If you like vampires, you like a little bit of life gain, or you're interested in Vraska, then this is a deck that you can pick up. What do you think about this deck? Let me know in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, hit the like button. If you'd like to see more such videos, hit subscribe. This was Refresh. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.